Actaeon's second awakening has begun. Even with so many control stones, they are all breaking, unable to withstand it. Every time she hears a chilling, tearing sound, her reason screams at her to run away immediately. It says if she stays here like this, she will surely die. But every time she chooses to stay, she chooses to not leave Actaeon like this. Despite the overwhelming power surging from him, she seizes his collar, shouting his name. He looks at her, blankly at first, as she yells for him to snap out of it. But he is still not coming to his senses. At that point, all she can think is what now? Should she have just turned away? Even if she tries guiding him like this, will she succeed? But if she runs away, Actaeon will die here. She curses under her breath. Why did his second awakening begin and make her unable to turn away? She warns him if he really kills her, she won't let him get away with it. If she dies, Hyakin will truly be alone. He will resent him forever and he will receive that hatred, becoming even more broken than he is now. She shouts at him to look at her, to see that she's right here and to snap out of it before it's too late. Still, there's nothing from him. She clenches her jaw, questioning if that's the only way now. Closing the space between them, she warns if he ever tries to hold her responsible later for a first kiss or something, she won't let him off, and then, she kisses him. In the romance fantasy novel, Taming a Calamity Level Transcended, there's a concept called Awakened Ones. These Awakened Ones are divided into two categories. Those who transcend human limits and display amazing abilities through magic are called Transcendents. Those who control and stabilize the magic of transcendence who are at risk of rampage are called Guides. These Awakened Ones are treated as weapons and national power. In the Kingdom of Valagar, the setting of the novel after establishing a military academy, they found awakened individuals with the potential to be Awakened Ones through their first awakening and enrolled them. Then nurtured them into transcendence or guides through their second awakening. Why is she suddenly going on and on about this setting? Because she just realized she has been transmigrated into a novel. And on top of that, the fact that she was reincarnated as Liliof Ortiz. An extra guide who dies after unexpectedly getting caught up in the male lead second awakening as an S-class transcendent. The plot of Taming a Calamity Level Transcendent goes like this. The male protagonist Actaeon, born as an illegitimate child of a ducal family that produced the most transcendence. As expected of a male lead, just like protagonists with trauma in other romance fantasy novels, he also experiences a certain incident and this leaves him with severe trauma. Coupled with his unstable transcendent tendencies, Actaeon was gradually going mad when he saw a certain woman. That woman was the S-class guide female protagonist Milia. And after receiving guiding from Milia he completely lost himself, leading to highly excessive acts between the two, disguised as guiding. Liliof wishes it ended there. But the villain, put in because it is a romance fantasy, happens to be her younger brother Hyakin, and that is the problem. Moreover, like a villain he meets a miserable death. What kind of personality does an author have to kill both siblings? It's Didier's voice that pulls her out of her thoughts, who is announced as a C-class. The woman then asks Liffy what is wrong. Is there a problem? She replies she is perfectly fine, guiding was just holding hands. She dismisses them with a flick of her hand, saying the awakening's over, they can go in now. But before they go, she gives Liffy a final warning. If she feels any side effects later, she needs to come see her right away. After all, there are far fewer guides than transcendents, and her body is not just her own, but the nation's. With a polite smile, she promises to keep that in her mind and thanks her for her concern. But she fumes inwardly, even though it is a place that treats children as weapons, to say it so openly, this world is hopeless after all. Though it is a relief that she recalled her memories immediately, otherwise she would have died meaninglessly knowing nothing. Then she decides to check what day it is. The date and time of the guide are stored on the control stone bracelet so she can check it. When she checks the year and day, she realizes there's only half a year left until the male lead's enrollment. Who cares about the original story at this point when she's about to die? She finds herself wondering what should she change first in the next half year to survive, and tells herself to set a goal. Later, she hands her leave request to the woman, who pauses and asks again, just to be sure, if she's really saying she wants time off and plans to go home. Looking a bit too cheerful, she replies that she's just heading home for a while. The professor holds her head and tells her they need to talk for a moment, then asks if she felt any physical or mental abnormalities during the guiding, or did Didier insult her during the second awakening. She quickly reassures her body is fine and there were no issues for the professor to worry about. It is just that she misses her younger brother, that's all. She adds he only has her as family. He's been living alone since she awakened. Besides, she is going to be assigned to a station right after graduation. The professor asks. So she wants to spend time with her only family before that, right? And then declares she will approve her leave of absence for now. But if something like this happens again, she won't tolerate it. She's only letting it slide once because it's her. But Liffy knows that it's all nonsense. She's just setting the stage because her brother could also be an awakened one. She tells her not to forget that she's not just a student, but also a talent destined for the battlefield. With a smile, Liffy promises to keep that in mind. She rises to her feet, but the professor reminds her unauthorized guiding is immediately reported to her and the supervisors control the stone bracelet. So she is not to cause trouble and rest quietly until her return. Liffy drawls, "Will do." Like she's not entirely sure. Her professor frowns and says that's not something to hesitate about. Liffy says that's right, she will give it a try. That tone makes the woman pause, briefly considering whether to cancel the leave altogether. But Liffy offers a small smile and adds she will be back. In her mind, she's already made the decision it's time to change her and Hyakin's fate. Then she took the magic train straight to Count Lorraine's estate. It is because surviving in a wild romantic world is overrun with classism and social hierarchy. Step 1 of survival, she greets a man and exclaims she came because there is someone she wants to see. All to block the original novel's endless frustration from the get-go. In the original novel, Hyakin lived at the Lorraine estate as a pre-awakened sponsored by them. The problem was the Lorraine family wasn't a good sponsor. Blinded by the prophet, the Count tried to force his first manifestation as quickly as possible. Along with his son, he beat and mistreated Hyakin daily. Those memories became Hyakin's trauma and deeply affected his emotions. In the end, Hyakin, who became the hidden villain and final boss, said he would get revenge for this time in his life and killed the entire Lorraine family in a gruesome way. Honestly, she doesn't care if the Lorraine family lives or dies, but she doesn't want Hyakin to live such a miserable life. She tells the man, her younger brother, lives here. It has been a while since she has seen him. He replies it is work hours now so people might be busy and asks want him to poke around a bit. She exclaims that would be great, realizing he thinks she's just a servant's family member. He also suggests how about he tags along when she sees her brother. She hasn't been to the capital, right? She replies yeah, it has been a while since she last came. He states then it is settled, she can look forward to it, he knows some good bars. Then he offers to show her around the estate, saying she can only get in like this, if it is with him and to keep it a secret. He finally asks what is her brother's name. She replies Heath. He stops in his tracks. The name doesn't sound familiar. Come to think of it, he never asked for hers either. Should he try to guess? Lately, the Count and the young master have been training some freeloader relentlessly, hoping to force a manifestation of power. When she hears about it, she smirks and asks what has that got to do with her not going there. He tells her there are a lot of rough scenes not fit for a lady to see. But to his surprise, she's already heading in that direction. He hurries after her, calling out that it's just not a good idea. She steps into the grim training hall, thinking how her only family is getting beaten like a rug in the rain. His hair, which she used to brush with her own hands, is now dry and brittle. His body looks scrawny, reduced to skin and bones. Guides are taught to control their emotions, but honestly, how many people could keep calm seeing someone they care about in such a state? She swallows a pill. Maybe it's because she condensed terrifying transcendent mana, it's pretty bitter. Oh well, it can't be helped. Guides don't have mana after all. The Count spots her and explodes, screaming what the hell? Why is a transcendent here? She only thinks how causing trouble one day into her leave of absence feels kinda thrilling. Her brother stares at her, stunned. The Count's son shrieks and stumbles into a corner, asking why is she suddenly coming at him like this? She replies first of all she is not a transcendent and second, as for why she is doing this, she saw him kicking her little brother around like he's nothing. Without hesitation, she unleashes her power at him, and he screams in pain. Her brother steps in, blurting out is she out of his mind? This guy is. She cuts him off, saying she knows who he is and not to worry it just stings a bit, that's all. The boy pleads with her to stop, crying that it hurts. She fires back so he understands what pain feels like and yet he still does that. Her eyes stay on him as she orders, apologize. He stammers out a quick, terrified sorry. Her brother urges her, it's okay. She can stop now. But then he flinches, his gaze fixed on her wrist which has turned red. She casually says the control stone is super hot. With that much the monitors definitely got an alert. He blurts out, is she crazy? If she gets thrown in jail, what about him? She flatly says, what else? He will just have to live on his own. He calls her insane, saying he never wants that. He doesn't want to be alone again. She smiles and says he's still such a kid. He shoots back he is not. But then the Count storms in, rushing to his son and shouting, what the hell is going on here? The man who had accompanied her earlier quickly blurts out that woman attacked the young master. Moments later, a group of guards enters, one of them declaring that she's being reported for unauthorized mana usage. She remains calm and says she won't offer any excuses for her punishment. However, do they know His Majesty the King has been taking a keen interest in potential transcendence? The lady officer steps forward and declares they are duty-bound to protect them. What is she getting at? She states the entire Lorraine household has been consistently mistreating, beating and humiliating a pre-awakened. She is here to report them. The Count acts like he cannot believe she just accused them of that. She doesn't back down, jabbing a finger at his son, so it's fine when an awakened attacks someone who hasn't awakened yet. The Count turns to the inspector and snaps, arrest that crazy woman immediately. The female officer steps forward, her gaze fixed on her. She says firmly, regardless of the reason, unauthorized use of mana is a serious offense. However, the reason she provided violates the royal law said by His Majesty the King. From the moment on, no one from the Count's household is allowed to leave the estate. An investigation into the truth of this accusation will begin immediately. If found to be true, the title will be stripped, all assets will be confiscated, and the punishment will range from a minimum of 5 years imprisonment to the death penalty. Stunned, the Count blurts out, what is she saying? This brat hasn't even shown signs of awakening. But the officer reminds him, even pre-awakened individuals are clearly classified as a state property, and the Count must not know fear to damage the king's property so recklessly. She then pivots to face Liffey, eyes hardening. She's being taken directly into custody by the Awakened Oversight Bureau. But then she stops as something shifts in the air, a strange reaction that pulls her attention. She turns and sees her brother, his body beginning to glow faintly, magic pulsing from within him. He's awakening. She tells him to calm down, but he shakes his head and says he can't let them take her. She rushes to him, reaching out, telling him it's all right and he can calm down now. The thought flickers through her mind, who would dare lay a hand on the sister of an S-rank awakened? She tries to channel her guiding powers to soothe him, but her body isn't responding properly. Something is wrong. He begins thrashing against the officer's grip, and fear creeps in as she wonders if he's slipping into berserk mode. Even if it looks like she acts without thinking, every move she makes is carefully calculated. If Hyakin is going to awaken as an S-rank transcendent anyway, then it only makes sense to help him turn that power into a means to protect himself. But now, as she finds herself before a surprise boss who mentions she must be out of it, just waking up and all. By the way, he is a prince of this country, she can call him Isidore, she becomes confused. He adds if his older brother, the crown prince, dies, or if something makes him unfit to inherit, then he becomes first in line. She wonders, why is a prince here? What is the connection? She finally acknowledges him, saying it is an honor to meet him, and that was a witty remark just now. But the thoughts continue. Is it because in the original story Hyakin gets registered as the crown prince's son? He remarks, bold of her. She flatly asks is he enjoying himself, because she is very confused. He laughs and says it is amusing, but now is not the time for jokes, is it? He wants to know what is her brother's expected rank. She replies it is impossible to determine the potential rank of a pre-awakened, but he reminds her sometimes there are signs that let you guess it, like with her brother. When she stays silent, he assures her that he's not trying to use her brother, he's trying to protect him. She echoes his words with a hint of disbelief, protect him, huh? He continues with measured calm. It's quite interesting, he says, that she suddenly took a leave of absence in the middle of the semester and immediately came to see her brother. Why? Because she suddenly found out he was being mistreated. So how did she find out? He asks, crossing his arms. Then, with a knowing look, he challenges her. She already knew he would awaken as a transcendent, didn't she? He may not know exactly how she learned of the mistreatment at the Lorraine estate, but she must have figured things could get really bad if she kept leaving her brother in that situation. He states transcendents' minds are fragile like glass. She is a B-rank guide, not specially high but not low either. For someone like her to rush to her pre-awakened brother's side, there's only one reason, to protect her little brother. She says that is more than she expected, thinking she did not expect him to connect the dots like that. He declares that is why he is planning to pair her and her brother with a more fitting family, and also lets her know Count Lorraine will be stripping off their patron status and noble title. And half of the confiscated assets will be paid out as compensation into her brother's account. She suspects isn't this going too smoothly. He also tells her she will be released soon as well, so she doesn't need to worry. Once he leaves this room she will be let out right after. She studies him warily, then mutters a quiet thanks. He asks why the question mark. She looks a little lost and replies she's just overwhelmed and meant thank you very much. But once again, it comes out sounding like a question. He watches her for a moment, almost amused, and says she's quite an unusual one. She responds that he's the first person to call her that. He shoots back without missing a beat that he's honored to be the first to say it to such a beauty. Then, shifting the mood, he informs her that after he leaves, someone from her new patron family will come to guide her. Before turning away, he assures her that the Brondern family is nothing like Lorraine. She answers with a calm okay, Brondern, but the moment the name leaves her mouth, she stiffens. The realization hits hard. The Brondern ducal house, that's the family of the male lead. Internally, she screams in disbelief. Did the prince seriously shove her straight into the household of the guy who accidentally causes her death? Later, Hyakin rushes over to her, scanning her from head to toe as he asks if she's okay. Then he demands to know if she's insane. She responds with practiced calm, saying that she helped him and all she gets in return is a scolding, and that he still won't even call her sister after all this time. He protests that's not the point right now. Does she know how much he begins, but his voice falters and he suddenly looks like he might cry. She gently tells him she's fine, so he can stop crying. He immediately fires back that he wasn't crying. Just then, a voice cuts through the air. Someone says it's a pleasure to meet them and introduces himself as Blair from Brondern. He informs them that he will be escorting both of them to the Brondern estate. She's taken aback by how quickly they arrive to pick them up. But before she can react, her brother instinctively steps in front of her, shielding her with his body. Later, as they stand before the mansion, Hyakin remarks this place is disgustingly huge. She adds it is the kind of wealth that builds a man estate in the central district, supposedly the most expensive part of the capital. Her brother turns to the butler, saying now he thinks he understands why that man said that earlier. Earlier he had eyed him warily and said they didn't have any luggage. He calmly replied at least it was good that they didn't have to drag along any rags. Liffey thinks he is even smiling at Hyakin's sarcasm. Is he that confident he can win him over? She takes her brother's hand firmly, thinking, not a chance, who said he could hand her little brother over to them. Going to get them out of this rich country and live a damn good life. So she needs to keep in check any forces trying to reach him, especially Crown Prince Sibilin. He approached Hyakin when he was devastated after losing his only guardian and lured him in with talk of revenge, dragging his life into ruin. She came to Brondern on Prince Isidore's recommendation to avoid that man, but it is not enough. It is clear now going to the military academy with her is the best plan. Judging from his earlier abnormal reaction, his first manifestation isn't far off, but still, she is pulled out of her thoughts when he looks at her and asks why does she keep staring at him. She replies, just wondering when he will grow up. He needs a trigger or some kind of stimulus for the first manifestation. He ends up being mad and snaps at her, asking why is she acting like this to him all day. She replies this, he's still too young and easy to provoke. She thinks it is best to have another transcendent of similar level nearby, for example Actaeon. He steps down the stairs and informs Blair that father is waiting for them. She forces a polite smile, thinking why they always show up before she's mentally prepared, first the prince and now this. Blair apologizes for the delay, explaining there was a holdup in the handling process. Actaeon remarks that they should wrap this up quickly and make their report. She watches him closely, a little surprised by how naturally he moves like a trained soldier than she ever managed, and he hasn't even entered the academy yet. And on top of that, he's shockingly good looking. If he weren't the one fated to kill her, she might have let herself fall for that face just a little. But still, since they'll be tangled up together from now on, an introduction seems necessary. She steps forward and says hello, introducing herself as Liliope Ortiz and her brother as Hyakin Ortiz. But Actaeon doesn't even pause, he turns his face away and replies that they're on a tight schedule and he will show them to their rooms first. She thinks, yeah, cold dismissal. Fair enough. It's not like they were going to be friends anyway. Her brother glares at his back, asking if they really have to stay here. She doesn't say it aloud, but thinks to herself if he doesn't want to, he should just manifest already. Just then, another man calls out to Actaeon, and Liffey mutters a quiet curse under her breath, recognizing him and realizing he's on leave too. Cassiel Brondern, Actaeon's older brother and the second main lead. Sensitive and quick-tempered, he's known for his outbursts but ends up clinging desperately to the female lead, Milia, after being reformed by her. He is someone she never particularly liked. He asks his brother, was all this fuss really because of this? Actaeon replies it must have gotten to him. Still, it is almost dinner time, he should start getting ready too. Cassiel scoffs and says not to tell him they're expected to dine in the same room as an unmanifested B-rank. Actaeon, unfazed, replies that while Cassiel may not like it, father won't allow him to skip the meal. He watches his brother for a moment too long before adding that if their father's willing to sponsor an unmanifested one, it likely means a decent rank is expected. But then he frowns and asks why that B-rank still feels barely worth tripping over, even here. Liffey curses the damn ranking system under her breath. Her brother nudges her slightly and asks why all noble families are like this. She guesses that it's just a constant war over hierarchy and succession rights. In Brondern, everything hinges on manifestation rank, even the title of successor. Then there's the case of Cassiel's twin, Claire, no wonder there's tension between them. But what truly surprises her is Actaeon. After that incident, she thought he'd be in far worse state. Yet he seems fine. She wonders if he's truly this stable, maybe she can help him grow without the trauma. Over dinner, their father speaks up, saying he had wondered why His Highness suddenly sent a servant, but then heard her younger sibling is quite promising. Liffey replies that he flatters them, her brother hasn't even manifested yet. The Duke counters that His Highness's instincts and analysis rarely fail, and sending her here must mean her sibling needs the guidance of a high-ranking transcendent. Still, he adds that he fails to see why she, too, must remain here. Liffey calmly thinks to herself she doesn't want to be here either. Glock Brondern is the head of House Brondern and an influential S-rank transcendent. Also the central figure in a scandal involving imprinting infidelity. When a transcendent and a guide marry, they usually form an imprint. Imprinting synchronizes unique mana with their partners in advance, which enables fast and stable guiding at any time. But it also limits guiding to this imprinted partner only. So it is typically considered an oath of loyalty and commitment. The Duke, however, not only refused to imprint with his wife, he cheated on her. And Actaeon was born into this tangled mess. He lost his mother young and grew up tiptoeing around the Duchess. Meanwhile, the Duke saw him as nothing but a potentially useful unmanifested tool, and paid no mind to how he was growing up, all for high resonance compatibility and efficient man stabilization. The Duke even broke off the Duchess' engagement to someone she loved just to marry her and didn't even imprint with her. Just cheated, a trash move no one can defend. And now that same man sees her, a mere B-rank guide, entering his household as if she is some schemer using her brother to claw into his family. Of course he would look down on her. Sorry to disappoint, but he is way off the mark. She would decline this family herself actually. Still, she should probably say something polite. She states she's worried that her rank might taint Brondern's prestigious reputation. From the start, all she has cared about is protecting Hyakin. In half a year, she will return to the military academy and head straight to her post after graduation, so she won't have any deep ties here. But for the next 6 months she will make sure no one even whispers about a B-ranker even staying here. He doesn't need to worry. She thinks to herself, she will only change what she can and then she will leave this place for good. The Duke remarks that it would have been fine if she were at least an A rank, what a shame. Her brother glances at her, looking worried. The Duke sets his drink down and says he hopes she gets some proper rest before she has to return. With that, he rises and extends his hand to his wife, who wordlessly takes it, and the two of them leave the room in quiet formality. Liffey finally exhales, the atmosphere in this room, she almost lost her appetite. Cassiel mutters something under his breath about incredible hypocrisy. He guesses this is how she's been living, just sucking up to others. He adds that, in a way, that's a talent too. She replies flatly that she just doesn't like to stand out. But Cassiel throws back, isn't it more like she can't, even if she wanted to? She doesn't respond out loud, but her thoughts shift. If Cassiel really took a leave of absence, it must have something to do with the Claire incident. Claire was Cassiel's fraternal twin and meant more to him as family than as a S-rank transcendent. The problem was that Claire, who resented her own powers, also felt the pressure of having to go to the battlefield and kill people. She gradually began to lose her mind until her spirit finally shattered. In the end her mind broke and she died with her guide after going berserk. For Cassiel it was an incident where he lost his family overnight. For Actaeon, it was the incident where he witnessed Claire's guide Aran, the only one who had ever been kind to him, die a gruesome death right before his eyes. That event left Actaeon with severe trauma and Cassiel with a directionless rage. Or perhaps it is more resentment than rage. Resentment for the country that pushed them to the front lines just for being transcendent, ultimately leading to their deaths. At the sound of his voice, she lifts her head only to find his eyes blazing with anger. He snarls, is she blatantly ignoring him? She replies quietly sorry, she was lost in thought for a moment and didn't hear him. He looks downright terrifying as he snaps get out. She simply gets up thinking, finally kicking her out. He held back for a long time but her brother gets up with her too. Looking at Cassie, he says His Highness assured not to worry, that he would arrange for a proper noble family. But for him, he fails to see how this place would be any different. He suddenly grabs his sister's hand and begins to pull her along, muttering that they will be taking their leave. Both brothers watch in silence. She stumbles after him, pleading Hyakin to wait. But he spins around and asks if that's why she did what she did to Count Lorraine. She admits she can't exactly say it isn't the reason. He snaps to show her being disrespected right in front of him. He tells her to listen. Well, if she has to be treated this way on account of his rank, then he doesn't need a family like this either. She calmly says no, he needs it. Because she plans to get him enrolled within 6 months. He questions, was his manifestation the reason she came here? He narrows his eyes at her and asks, showing up out of the blue without so much as a letter. She lies that she had a feeling that he would manifest. And her magic actually reacted to him at the Count's house, and as for not contacting him, she was afraid that if they got attached, it would only make things harder for him. But he looks sad and murmurs enough with the excuses. She suggests in any case, since things turned out this way, isn't it better for them to be together? He replies I suppose so. She responds of course there are only 3 months left in the manifestation registration period, but he just needs to manifest within that time. He questions how. With a confident look, she tells him to just trust his big sister and reasons with him it is expected for him to be an outcast here, so she doesn't mind, but he needs to be careful too. As he saw earlier, the Duke is a man obsessed with rank and results. People like that usually end up breaking those around them in their pursuit of visible achievements. He just needs to receive the help for his manifestation as a sponsored individual from a sponsoring family. It is part of a national policy anyway, so it is not like he will be indebted to the Brondern family. She doesn't want him to get caught up in the Duke's greed and die, like someone else, so she would rather he not go digging around for this family's secrets. Before he can speak, a cold voice cuts in from behind such peculiar sibling affection to speak so carelessly of another's family matters. Actaeon steps forward and points out how she said like someone else, she sure seems to know a lot about this place. She watches him cautiously, fearing if he heard they plan to just get what they need and then leave. She tells Hyakin to go ahead. When he hesitates she tells him she's going to talk with him for a moment and not to worry. He tells her to hurry back before leaving them together. She turns to him and says her own family could end up in the same situation. Shouldn't she be a little more careful? Who would want to get involved in someone else's complicated family matters? He takes a step towards her and asks is that so? Then how did she find out about those family matters? He demands her to tell him how did she know. She knows it is dangerous to act like she knows too much in front of him. A lie would be too easy to catch. So she will mix rumors and truth appropriately. She tells him there was an announcement that an S-class transcendent who graduated early had died suddenly in a battle. It was a shocking event, after all, a prodigy, someone considered a rising star had died. Naturally, it caused all sorts of rumors and with speculation. Some said she was killed by a newly emerged S-class monster. Others said she took her own life, some simply believed she was assassinated by a foreign nation. She simply filtered out the nonsense from the overwhelming noise, surprisingly that sometimes leads to a fairly reasonable theory. She says she could easily end up in the same situation. He echoes the same situation. So, she clarifies, she means being sent off to the front lines at a young age in order to kill. He calmly says that is the duty of a manifested one, but then adds that doesn't sound like a valid excuse for dragging up someone's family matters. She retorts she cannot agree with that statement. No sane parent would want to shove their child onto a battlefield in the name of duty. But after seeing the Duke at the banquet, she just cannot believe he's not that kind of person, and that even he said it was only natural that she heads to the front because of her duty. He doesn't miss the slight tremble in her hand as she adds he must have heard their circumstances, so he knows what matters most to her is the safety of her brother and herself. That is why she warned her brother not to get involved with the Duke's family, just in case. Even the Duke and his brother seem to warn the same thing, doesn't he agree? Actaeon exhales slowly, eyes falling shut, as he says he understands for now, where she's coming from. She also apologizes for carelessly bringing up his family matters. He admits it was reckless of her. If her older brother or his father had hurt her, her sponsorship would have been revoked. She shrugs and says she doesn't care. She has no desire to show sincerity to people who don't even see them as a human. He begins to say they have never, but she cuts him off, saying not to say it never happened. From the moment she arrived at the estate, he treated her like she didn't exist, and as for his brother and the Duke, well, he saw it himself, didn't he? She thinks, honestly, things were already absurd even before the banquet. Even the maid assigned to assist her looks down on her. Then Actaeon speaks, his tone unusually serious. There's one misunderstanding he wants to clear up. He says, first of all, he never treated her like she didn't exist. It was simply that he chose not to get close because of Aaron. She flinches at the name, the guide who died alongside Claire. No way is he keeping his distance because he's afraid that she'll end up the same. So that's why he's been keeping a cold, detached distance. It looks like it's taking him effort to speak, so she gently says that if it's hard to talk about, he doesn't have to force himself. But just then, he suddenly stumbles. She catches him before he collapses. She asks what's wrong. That's when it hits her these are early signs of a first awakening. She freaks out. No, don't tell her it's happening today. What is this, #1 speed run to the afterlife? Why now of all times? He brushes her concern aside, insisting he's fine, and tells her to just call Blair. But her answer is a resolute no. If she leaves him like this, the mana inside his body could tear into his heart, leading to a mana outburst. Still, since it is first awakening, his body shouldn't, but he cuts her off, insisting he's fine. She tells him it is not Blair he needs. He needs a guide right now. She asks him if he has a guide in this estate who can stabilize him. When he remains quiet, she realizes no, because if there was, he would have said so right away. Which means for now she is the only guide available. The situation is too familiar to the second awakening event from the original story. She wonders if this is a ripple effect from her coming to Brondern. Should she be helping him like this? What if she ends up dying from guiding just like in the original? His pained groan jolts her out of her spiral and guilt crashes into her. She cannot believe she's even thinking this while he's clearly in pain. All of this came from her impulsive actions, then she will face it head on. She came here because she wanted to change the future. Her professor comes to her mind. She inwardly apologizes. She promised her she wouldn't cause trouble, but she's doing everything she shouldn't. She just hopes she won't get detained if she gets dragged to the bureau. She will just say she helped because it was an emergency. He asks her what is she doing. But she only smiles at him in return and tells him he better not forget what happened today. His eyes grow wide. She needs to find the point where the mana is twisted, if she can unravel it, but then she pauses. These aren't mana, these are his emotions. Loneliness, isolation, cold and emptiness, fear and kindness. He asks what exactly is she doing right now. She replies she's just guiding him and pleads with him to wait. Through the pain he manages to say he has never heard of emotion sinking during guiding. She thinks it is her first time too. How should she know? He finally calms down and she sighs in relief. Thankfully, the tangled mana has been united. At this rate, there should be no problem. But something twists in her chest and she gasps, eyes going wide. What just happened? She feels it, his heart pulling her ability straight out of her. As her knees buckle and she collapses, a thought flickers through the haze. So this is what it's like to guide an S-class transcendent. Panicked, he tells her to remove her hand, then shouts for someone to call a doctor, voice cracking as he pleads with her not to die. The next morning, when she opens her eyes, her brother is by her side, immediately leaning in to ask if she's okay. She groans that it feels like she's going to die. He helps her sip some water, but then her gaze drifts to the other figure standing nearby. He casually remarks that she's awake and the water spurts out of her mouth. She stares at him in disbelief, demanding to know why he's here. He simply asks if she always lives so impulsively like a mayfly. Then slowly he points out that she knew guiding him in that moment was dangerous and questions what she was thinking, why she would do something like that. She blurts out without thinking that she couldn't possibly leave to look for someone else, not knowing what might happen while she was gone. He frowns, saying he could have handled it. But she snaps back that if it weren't for her, he would have been dead. His voice drops lower as he asks if she's saying it doesn't matter what happens to her. Her brother cuts in, arms crossed, saying that while he was the one being nosy first, shouldn't he be the one complaining or getting angry right now, not him? The two of them glare at each other. She raises a hand and mutters that she doesn't care if they want to have a full-blown staring contest, but she would like to know what happened while she was unconscious. Hyakin turns to her and calmly says that nothing happened, nothing she needs to worry about. She clarifies that what she means is, she wants to know how the situation was resolved. Normally, she should have woken up in a solitary cell at the Manifest Management Bureau. But Hyakin says it is not too late to hear about it later. More importantly, doesn't she need to eat something? Only then he reveals she was out cold for 2 whole days. She is shocked, but he tells her to eat first then think. Though the food is laid out before her, she's far too deep in thought, wondering what on earth just happened. It's surprising enough that they moved to a higher class room than the one they were first assigned, and attendants are also treating them so respectfully. She turns to her brother and asks did he become a noble or something while she was out. He fires back what kind of nonsense is that? And tells her to hurry up and eat and take her medicine. Actaeon finally speaks up, asking when she collapsed right in front of her eyes, how does she think he felt? She thinks he was probably flustered thinking about how to clean up the mess. Thankfully, it all worked out, and that is why she's here. She apologizes for acting on her own. But he says it's not that he wants an apology. However, she reminds him, thanks to her, he made it through a dangerous moment too, right? So instead of a reprimand, wouldn't a single word of thanks be better? She asks is she wrong? He replies no, she is right. She then expresses her relief that he seems to be okay. She was really surprised as well. Hyakin tells Actaeon if he understands, then how about a proper thank you? He shouldn't think he can just get away with it. But he ignores him smoothly and continues that the Management Bureau said it was closer to an abnormal mana reaction from a special initial manifestation. It is also proof that his expected rank is high, but apparently something could have gone wrong in the process of accepting the mana. He could have been crippled, or in the worst case scenario, the absorbed mana could have flowed backward and his heart could have exploded. She thinks if she hadn't saved him, she would have incurred his family's grudge, wouldn't she? Given the Duke's personality, he would have blindly blamed her. But then unexpectedly Actaeon takes her hand, saying it's all thanks to her that he's alive and in one piece. With that, he presses a kiss to her knuckles. Her brother immediately freaks out, blurting that a simple hello would have been more than enough. He demands why is his face that close to hers. The man replies coolly that he will inform his father she's regained consciousness and that he'll see her later. Hyakin yells after him not to bother coming back. After he leaves, he turns to his sister and warns not to get close to him, accusing him of being a total fox. She asks him why is he making such a fuss. What does he even mean by a fox? She tells him she's going to eat now and that he's being distracting, so he can go wait outside with the attendants. He agrees, but reminds her not to leave any soup and to make sure she takes her medicine. As he leaves, she thinks she's somehow managed to get through this, but the truth is she has no idea what the second manifestation might bring. In the novel, Milia's manifestation was on the later side. That is why during Actaeon's second manifestation 6 months later, Milia will not be able to guide him. But that doesn't mean she can, so she just needs to recruit another high-ranking guide and have them guide Actaeon's second manifestation. That way both she and Actaeon can avoid death, but still why does she feel so uneasy about it? Later, someone knocks and asks for permission to come in for a moment. She calls out who is it? A voice replies that the Duchess sent them to check if she's all right. She tells them to come in. A man steps inside with a polite smile and says his name is Veld. When she swings off her feet from the bed, he tells her no need to get up, but she says she cannot just lay down while he's standing there, can she? He says that so she's very polite. She wonders what is this? They have just met but he's acting like he's her advisor or something. Out of the blue, he asks her if she likes quizzes. She replies not really. But he acts like she said she likes them and says he knew it. He then says here comes a quiz. What is he in a Brondern? Why does she feel like she's meeting Prince Isidores all over again? He says it would be boring if he just told her, so she should try guessing. She wonders why are all these capable people always so secretive. She says his hair looks nice, what soap does he use? He replies. He makes it himself and offers a few. She says no thanks. She asked because it looked like he put effort into it. Here that well kept, neatly dressed and even bothers to make his own soap. And judging by her current situation, he must be a pharmacist. He asks if he smells like medicine, but she quips that if he's clean and good at making things, he's more of a pharmacist than a doctor. She questions whether pharmacists even do checkups these days. He casually explains that her physician is away, so he came in his place. When she points out that it sounds illegal, he simply replies that if it really bothers her, he will go get a medical license. Handing her a small bottle, he says it's medicine he prepared with care to help her regain her strength. She eyes the bottle and remarks dryly that apparently even someone from Brondern can have a personal pharmacist. He reveals he also got a permit from the royal family. This is the cradle of transcendence, after all. Only then she realizes it is a modified Nexium. During the age of conflict, pharmacists and doctors are as valuable as high-ranking guides. Especially pharmacists who can refine a transcendence mana into pill form called Nexium, making them highly valued. Of course, since it is someone else's mana, it usually has strong side effects. But modified Nexium is different. It is a perfected version that solves all the issues of regular Nexium. Only 30 pharmacists in the entire kingdom can make this modified Nexium, and the hand medicine she received is modified Nexium. That means he is a huge deal. He then tells her for now, she should rest a bit more today. But she assures him she is fine. He laughs and says people like her always say that and end up getting worse, so she should rest well. He will come back in 2 days. She watches him leave and thinks he left easier than she expected. She couldn't hold out much longer, so good timing, and then she coughs blood. Looking at her hand, she says if rumors spread that she coughed up blood, who knows what Hyakin would try to pull. She needs to get better quickly and recruit a new high-ranking guy to replace Milia if she wants to avoid guiding Actaeon ever again. Her resolve to recover quickly turned meaningless. She was bedridden for a full week. During that time, Veld came every morning to check on her, and he rifled through her clothes every day. She stretches her arms with a quiet declaration that this ends today. Veld had confirmed she could start moving around again. Although he'd rattled off a long list of precautions, she figured she'd be fine. She recalls him saying she might be the only person he knew who has asked about moving just 1 week after a collapse. She steps toward the door, determined to finally go out. Later they bicker, with Hyakin insisting he doesn't need help and tells the him not to sneak in, while Actaeon replies that sneaking in might actually be the better option. She watches the two, puzzled. She had been alone just moments ago. When did so many people appear? Somehow, Hyakin had shown up, asking to go out with her, and once she agreed, Actaeon had suddenly popped up as well. It was starting to feel like she was the Pied Piper. Actaeon then casually mentions that it might be best to request the carriage soon, since his big brother is also heading out and apparently in a bad mood. She repeats with a hint of surprise, so Cassiel is going out today. Honestly, he doesn't even like her, so there's no need to run into him and cause trouble. Who knows how he would react if they did cross paths. Her eyes spot the movement outside and she looks out the window, trying to make out if the person getting into the carriage is Cassiel. Actaeon leans in a little, commenting that it seems like they're just finishing up. Before anything else can be said, Hyakin moves between them, cutting in and nudging his sister forward. He says he's helped enough for 1 day and it's time for them to head out. But as they start walking, he notices Actaeon trailing after them and snaps, asking why he's coming too. Actaeon replies simply that he's got somewhere to be as well. But maybe because so many people are heading out today, the stables are really busy. If they leave separately, the carriage prep will take longer, so he suggests why don't they go together. Without warning, Liffy reaches out and flicks him on the forehead, saying he's being annoying, so she hit him, simple as that. Then, without another word, she turns and walks off. Hyakin calls after him, saying that won't work on her. But he just stands there with a faint smile, thinking that's something only time will tell. And that concludes the video today. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you want another part.